Psych word in this bitch. 2007 and forever, you know what I'm saying? What? Debo Crazy, the nigga named Spooks, right. And that nigga Mr. C.
You're talking and I'm gonna come and slap you. What? I see you running and I'm gonna fucking get you. Toe to toe, blow for blow, be a man now. You wanna talk the talk, now walk the fucking walk, punk. I'm out for blood and I'm coming straight for ya. It's hater season and I got my get loaded. Your crown's my target and I'm about to blow a hole in it. Leave it crooked like the man that's claiming that he's wearing it.
Just like the Terminator, more like the governor. Disappear like David Blaine, my mind's insane. Been like this before the game started. Mowing down the competition cause I'm cold-hearted. Step to me and take your last breath, kid. Have your chest beating like the crystal meth did. I'm fast to take mine, quick to eat yours. Quit running around thinking you're hardcore. History should've told you what you're in store for. Step to me and get smacked through the floorboards.
Motherfucker, I came back to the realm, heard a lot of doubting, a lot of shit, talking nothing but a lot of shouting. Fuck words, I'm swinging fists, gonna get ya off guard. Fuck trying to disrespect ya. I'm Jason Voorhees without the machete. You ending up disappearing like Machiavelli. Y'all ain't ready, y'all ain't ready. Your mind will explode in the chunks like confetti. What? This is fight music, and your life music. 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 Throw 'em up, throw 'em up, throw 'em up, boy. Throw 'em up, throw 'em up, throw 'em up, boy. Throw 'em up, throw 'em up, throw 'em up, boy. Throw 'em up, throw 'em up, throw 'em up, boy. This is fight music, and your life music.
The following program has been rated NC-17 by the RIAA Certification Board.
But why?
Because this movie has naughty language.
No persons under the age of 17 will be admitted without parent or legal guardian. And now, the feature presentation.
So I wanted you guys on because the last time you guys were on, you guys had some of the most fucked up stories I've ever heard in my life.
Exactly, and now you got three of us. Oh
I know. And it's great because the one story you guys told the last time you were here, like Damien was kind of involved in, and we couldn't get his side of it. So
yeah, we would have had Derek with us tonight, but Derek's stuck working. You know, so I mean, big shout out to him. I'm pretty sure he's probably listening right now. That's all good. And one of these days we're gonna have to drag him here. We're gonna have to kidnap him. It's gonna happen.
So I mean, the name of your group is called Psych Ward.
Yes.
So why don't you guys, and since we got Damien here too, why don't you guys kind of explain where the name Psych Ward came from, how you guys came up with it, and like what kind of style of rap do you guys do?
When it first started out, it's just kind of like, I don't know, like it's like digging and pulling for names, really. You know, it's like before the, you know, it's gonna make it sound old as hell, but who cares? But like it was like before, you know, you had like MySpace and Facebook and all that. We're like, I like this name. This name sounds pretty hardcore. Fuck it, we're gonna go with this. You know, we're just gonna talk about crazy shit, and that's what it's gonna be. And we went with it, and it just kind of stuck. And I remember the first show we booked, first actual venue show we booked, being at Peabody's. And I believe, you know, we lied to get on a battle of the band, so we told them we were a band.
I think we told them we were Christian rock.
Yeah, we told them we were Christian rock. Yes, Christian rock. So I remember it was kind of funny because we're on there and there was a bunch of Christian bands playing. I'm already getting weird looks because I decided to paint my face. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
Got banned the first show at Peabody's.
Just basically, you know, as like, you know, the story before, as we were talking about, you know, just kind of wanting to go against the grain and do something different than punk rock and hardcore and metal and all that, and just wanting to do something different, really, and just kind of wanting to piss people off and offend people because people aren't offended enough.
Amen.
I mean, especially nowadays. I mean, it's really easy to offend people, but just, you know, just the name fit, worked out, and we booked it and we did it, and it's absolutely great. One of these days I'm gonna have to put the video online, but it's great. You know, we go on stage, everybody's just
I do it wrong. Parents pissed off every time I write a song. Smoke crack, worship Satan, what the fuck is that? It's something funny, made for you to laugh at.
You're destroying America with your rap.
You're so full of shit, I need to call hazmat. The only way I would ever apologize
I gotta go
if
on
I
record
had
with
my
this,
face
alright?
buried
I
in your
really
sister's
do.
thighs.
Never in 39 years have I ever seen anything like this.
Okay, I'm sorry
It
for what
shows
it's worth,
the
but the best
fanaticism
part of you was the
of this fan
afterbirth.
base.
If you can't take a fucking joke, then go jump in the river. Na 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 na
Into the
na
return
na
of
na na,
Snap.
and I fucked your sister. You can't take a fucking joke, then go jump in the river. La 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 la
That it was
la la
kind of,
la,
for me,
and I fucked your sister.
if you want to continue to put this narrative out there that Cody finishing the story
What the fuck, dude?
is this big daunting task, and Cody has all these mountains to climb and all these brass rings to pull back.
And of course, we gotta thank our official music sponsor, Psych Ward, for the continued use of Funny Bone.
And my balls on her chin, she's bobbing her head to this fucking beat. Damn, dog, man, your sister's a freak. Hey, baby, you like the Eagles? Wanna hear something?
Okay. Who's got the fucked up bingo card out there? I'm talking to you. I'm looking at you, and I'm telling you to stop it. Do you see what you're doing? Oh my god. Up is down. Black is white. Red is green. Blue is pink. Orange is brown. Well, those two colors have always kind of gone together if you root for that football team. But anyway, John Cena turned his back on all the fans. Cody Rhodes out here saying fuck. You got The Rock being The Rock. CM Punk saying bullshit like 6 times on Raw. What are you people doing out there? I'm talking to you. You people out there. Hello. Hello. You see me? Yeah, hi. I'm talking to you. Stop it. Stop it. But this is Money's Crazy Mind. This is, as you can see above me, the rise of the villain. And as any wrestling fan saw Saturday night at the Elimination Chamber, that saying means more now than ever before. And John Cena turning heel and joining The Rock is kind of what morphed this episode into more than it was going to be originally. And that's not a bad thing, because you guys are going to get to see a different take on this. But it all flows together into our original topic from 2025. You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And Cody Rhodes wasn't ready to see himself become the villain yet. But John Cena knew that this was his last opportunity to win that coveted 17th World Heavyweight Championship. And he wanted it so bad that he was willing to sell his soul to The Rock. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a storyline going on there was a storyline leading into the pay-per-view this past weekend, where The Rock approached Cody Rhodes and made him an offer. Because now that The Rock is on the board at TKO Industries, which is the company that now owns WWE, he's kind of like the Vince McMahon of this generation. And he approached Cody and said, I can make all of your dreams come true. Your wife Brandy will never need for anything. Your kids will never need for anything. Your family will never need for anything. And he says that he was doing it as a favor to Dusty because of how much Dusty meant to The Rock. But when The Rock is a heel, or a bad guy, in Wrestle Speak. The Rock is diabolical. And he'll say, he'll say whatever he needs to say to get whatever he needs. So in that aspect, by him telling those things to Cody Rhodes, it was to get Cody on his side. So fast forward to the Elimination Chamber. The chamber match ends. John wins. Unfortunately, I wanted it to be someone else, and we'll get to that in a second. I'm not going to get too deep into Elimination Chamber. I'm just talking about how this final moment from Elimination Chamber changed a little bit of things about the way that the show is going to go this week. That's it. After that, we're done talking about the chamber, and we're going to move in to our topic. Got it? Okay. So Cody comes out at the end of the Elimination Chamber match, which John Cena won, because now that John Cena won the Elimination Chamber match, he now takes on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. They do the exchange, congratulations, thank you. The Rock comes out. Cody, what's your decision? I sold my soul years ago, but it wasn't to you. It was to this business and to these people. So Rock, go fuck yourself. And yes, they did not bleep it. It was as loud as could be coming out of our television. And I'm just like, well, I guess that little PG that was at the beginning of the show don't mean much now, does it? And then after that, Cena turned heel, beat up Cody, joined The Rock. So now John Cena is The Rock's champion. Fast forward to Monday Night on Raw, CM Punk pissed off, and this is when I love CM Punk, is when he's just pissed off at the world. Comes out and basically says, I'm so tired of your bullshit, Rock. Tells John Cena that the hustle, loyalty, and respect that he's touted for 20 plus years was all bullshit. And he just kept saying bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. So I'm just like, yeah. That PG means bullshit at this point. But it got me thinking, right? Because now you have John Cena changing the entire atmosphere of the WWE by him turning heel. And why is that a big deal? It's a big deal because you've never seen John Cena in this way before. You've never seen John Cena do this. John Cena was always, I gotta kiss babies, I gotta shake hands, I gotta make sure the kids like me. I'm the face of the company. If I do the bad thing, then nobody is gonna respect me. And then there's the other half of the audience that's just like, dude, you are as vanilla as pudding. At one point, when John Cena and The Rock were having a angle years ago, even The Rock said, "You're Fruity Pebbles." And that's kind of what this thing of John has been all these years. So by John willing to sit there and live long enough to see himself become the villain, to go back to that phrase that we borrowed from Dark Knight at the beginning of the year, this opens up a whole new world for John. And this opens up a whole new world for people that maybe weren't fans of John's. Now, for me, if this were to have happened back before there were multiple people, including CM Punk, who have fought and clawed their way. And believe me, I know that wrestling is a fake industry. I worked in the wrestling industry. I understand. It is fake. It's all a gimmick. But I still think that because John is John, and because John Cena has been this face of the company for 20 plus years, even though you can argue that now with a lot of these new young bucks and young guns that are coming up in the ranks that have kind of just been like, we've been here, you haven't. I'm the face of the company now. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. There is that argument to be made. But I do think that because of John's position, because John is saying, this is it, this is the final goodbye, this is my farewell tour, blah, blah, yada, 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 that John could potentially walk in to Dwayne's office or Paul's office, meaning Triple H and The Rock, and sit there and say, I have this idea. Can we do this? And then The Rock and Triple H look at each other and go, it's time to play the game if you smell what The Rock is cooking. So I do think that there is that aspect of it there. And, we heard Triple H say after the Royal Rumble, when John announced that he was, no questions asked, I'm not going to qualify, blah, blah, entering the chamber, we heard Triple H say that John's been here long enough to sit there and say, if I want to be in the Elimination Chamber match, I'm going to be in the Elimination Chamber match. So I think that holds credence to kind of what I was just saying. So that made me start thinking, like, is this a bigger moment, or is this generation's Hulk Hogan joining the NWO? And sitting here and saying, Hulkamania is dead. There is no more say your prayers, train, and eat your vitamins. And that's kind of how this moment felt. And a lot of people said that this is the biggest shock of the 21st century when it comes to professional wrestling. And I tend to agree with that. Just because of who John Cena is and what John Cena has meant to this industry, or to that industry, I should say, for all those years. But we're going to, tonight, here, we're going to be talking about other villains. Some of the villains that I think are some of my favorite Hollywood villains. Now, these are not necessarily in any kind of order, and I'm not saying that there aren't other people that should be on this list. These are just the three people that I think, and one of them I don't think gets the credit for just how diabolical that this character actually is. So we're going to talk about that. And then there are two who have been pretty much mainstay villains for multiple decades. And then we're going to talk about some real life scumbags. And these three are pretty much exactly that. Scumbags. And then, now this is just between you and I, okay? Someone at Wayne Enterprises managed to hack into the Bat computer. So I'm thinking what we can do is get into the Bat computer and see if we can pull up Batman's criminal dossier file on the Joker. What do you guys think? You guys think we can do it? Oh, that's a black hole. Let's stay away from that. Do you think we can trust this guy? Do you think we have a code that can get us into the Bat computer? All right. Okay. We'll try it later. But let's talk about some things that are coming up soon here in the asylum. All right, so we've been talking about it, but the show is happening. April 25th, 8 p.m. Four Loco. Bad Juju. One stage, one night only, at the local in Strongsville. From 4 to 6 p.m., Money's Crazy Mind will be live, broadcasting live from the local. And then starting at 8 p.m., you see the start time on the poster there that I'm kind of sort of pointing to. KZ Radio will be going live, broadcasting at least just the Four Loco portion, but I'm still working on some stuff with Chad. I'm just, I'm just kind of like taking Chad and I'm just like, motherfucker, let us do this. I'm kidding. But we are working on getting some stuff together with Bad Juju to make sure that we are going to be able to broadcast that part of the concert as well. So stay tuned for more details on that. Okay? And of course, KZ Radio continues to be your one-stop shop for all types of music, all types of fun stuff, all kinds of fun. Okay? And as you can see, Money's Crazy Mind is back on Wednesdays. So for the time being, Money's Crazy Mind is back on Wednesdays. And this next show that we're going to be talking about is back on Mondays. Is back on Fridays from 6 to 8 p.m. This week, we got something really cool coming up for you. We got a concept on the show that I think you guys are going to like. So stay tuned for that, 6 to 8 p.m. on KZ Radio. And of course, where can you get KZ Radio? Well, if you have an Alexa, all you have to do is say, "Hey Alexa, play KZ Radio."
Sorry, I didn't get that. The
Bitch.
internet isn't reachable.
Oh, I have to reconnect my Alexa to my new internet. I got new internet. I'm sorry, but normally, if I didn't change service providers, all I would have to say is play KZ Radio, and Alexa would start playing KZ Radio. And I think she's about to yell at me again because I said something.
Sorry, I didn't get that. The internet isn't reachable.
Told you. Or if you have an iOS device, all you have to do is just go into the App Store and search KZ Radio, and then download the app and go ding. Then you have KZ Radio. If you have an Android device like me, we are working on getting that app finalized and out to you, but we need your help. Got it? I'm talking to you, Mr. Android user. If you want an early release of the Android app, all you have to do is email us at kzproductions@gmail.com and say, I want the early release of the Android app. We get you the instructions on how to get it. You test it out for 30 days. And then bada bing, bada boom. Once we get enough people to test the app out for 30 days, cha-ching, it's available to you for free in the Android App Store. So we need your help to get this app out there. Got it? Cool. All right. So before we get back into the main part of the topic here, which is talking about our villain, when we jump into the hive of villainy to discuss some of these Hollywood and real life inspirations and villains, more than likely, this is going to be our very last broadcast on Facebook. I had to go back and redo this show twice because each time I tried to upload it, Facebook's magic fuck button algorithm would keep picking up on certain words that I was saying and say, you're violating our terms and conditions. You're violating our policy. So I went, okay, then fine, fuck you. I will just post the show as it airs live. And then you can go fuck yourself, Facebook. So I think this is going to be our last week. And the reasoning for that is partially this content thing that Facebook keeps thinking that people are doing when they're not really doing that. If you read the terms and conditions and the guidelines and the community standards or whatever the fuck they want to call it this week, it states that you cannot physically show a representation of some of these things that we obviously are going to be discussing when we're talking about this kind of a topic. But to actually say the words when you're discussing something, especially when we get to some of these real life scumbags in a true crime setting, you're not actually violating the terms and conditions or the community standards. The problem is that Facebook's algorithm doesn't recognize that and isn't intelligent enough to know that. So instead of constantly fighting these battles with Facebook and probably soon with YouTube, who knows, I'd rather just sit there and be like, you know what? I'll just point everybody to the Rumble page. I'll point everybody to the Facebook channel. And if you want to watch the show, go there. Because I'm done. I'm tired of dealing with this shit that we've been dealing with for so many years when it comes to Facebook. This isn't the first time that Money's Crazy Mind has been attacked by Facebook in this way. And if you go back into the archives of that other radio station that I used to belong to and find the episode where I literally went Paul Heyman fucking shoot promo on Facebook, you'll see it. And the craziest part about it was, I wasn't even the one being attacked. It wasn't Money's Crazy Mind necessarily that was being attacked. It was the radio station that I was with that was being attacked. But because my page was linked to theirs so that we can just simultaneously send the show out at one time, I ended up getting roped into that. And because I ended up getting roped into that, Money's Crazy Mind was being attacked in the same way that the station was. And for me, I definitely felt like that was unfair. Because it's like, well, what the fuck did I do? I didn't do anything. I'm following the rules. I don't have copyrighted material in my show. I don't use images that could be considered copywritten. That's why I always try to find things that aren't and cannot be linked to any kind of copyright, so that I make sure that this show follows as many community standards and all that other hunky-dory bullshit that Facebook has as I can. And the fact of the matter is I can say fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. But the second I say something remotely close to some of the things that we're going to be talking about here tonight, and I'm sorry, Facebook, but I'm going to violate your terms and conditions, and I'm going to say exactly what I need to say, the way I want to say it, and if you don't like it, I don't care. Because I have other avenues to put my content out there. And if I have to point people away from your platform to get people to my content, then that is exactly what I'm going to do. Because quite frankly, I'm tired of it. And you're violating our First Amendment rights as Americans to free speech. And if you're going to continue to violate our First Amendment rights as Americans to free speech and freedom of the press, which is exactly what this is. A podcast is a form of press. And if you're going to violate our First Amendment rights being members of the press, maybe not, and obviously not all of us are professional members of the press in that way, but we are members of the press. We're expressing our opinions and expressing our thoughts through our podcasts, through our channels, through our live videos. And then on top of that, the fact that you're about to start removing our live videos after an amount of time is also limiting our content. Maybe instead of taking buyouts from people that you shouldn't be taking buyouts from, you can use some of that money that you're getting from these buyouts and put it towards getting new servers so that you can continue to host our content and not remove it. That, Facebook, is what I think is the right move to make. And that is my part of being the villain this week. So let's get into it here. Let's jump in to the hive of villainy. Now, what I did was I took 3 villains from Hollywood. So obviously these are fictional characters. Let me say that again for Facebook, since Facebook wants to be a fuckface. Fictional characters. And then we're going to talk about 3 real life scumbags. Now, those are the scumbags, Facebook, not me. This first one I don't think gets enough credit as being probably one of the most diabolical villains in the history of any kind of medium that encompasses entertainment. We're not just talking about Hollywood here. I'm talking about all forms of entertainment. And that character is Oroku Saki, or as most people know him, the Shredder. Now, if you look at the comic book, or the cartoon and the movie versions of the Shredder, obviously this character doesn't seem that diabolical, doesn't seem that scary. Oh my god, what's so scary about the Shredder? Well, if we go back to 1984 in the original Mirage comic book issue number 1, it shows a form not only of Oroku Saki that nobody has ever seen portrayed in a cartoon or a movie, but it also portrays a different version of the Turtles, where it is much more adult content, and I do mean a lot more adult content than you will ever see in any cartoon or any movie based on these characters, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because back in 1986, when they made a toy deal with Playmates, the deal was that they had to have a kid-friendly Saturday morning cartoon. And the reason for that is because back in those days, you could not make toys and not have them be for children. But back in that original 1984 comic book, and even later versions of the comic book, the Shredder, so in that 1984 version, the Shredder is much more villainous. After that, he was toned down for cartoons, movies, and even later versions of the comic book. The closest to the original Mirage was the IDW reboot from 2011. But in the original Mirage story, Hamato Yoshi, Splinter's owner, and Oroku Nagi were both members of the Shadow Warrior group known as the Foot Clan. Nagi and Yoshi competed in everything, including the love of a young woman named Tang Shen. Shen wanted only Hamato Yoshi. And this drove Nagi into a rage. And one night, Nagi decided that he was going to visit Tang Shen's home and demand that she love him instead of Yoshi. Tang Shen refused, and then Nagi began beating her and raping her. Eventually, Yoshi would enter the home to see Nagi beating Shen. Nagi demanded that if he could not have Tang Shen, then no one could have Tang Shen. And this act would lead to Yoshi jumping into a defensive rage and beating Nagi to death. And this act led to Yoshi being dishonored by the Foot Clan and having only 2 choices: take his own life and beg for mercy in the afterlife, or flee with Shen to another country and start life over. Yoshi chose the latter choice. He moved to New York, opened a martial arts school. But back in Japan, Nagi's family was mourning Nagi's death. None more than his younger brother, Saki. The 7-year-old child vowed vengeance against Hamato Yoshi. And the Foot would use this to their advantage, bending him to their will. Saki trained intensively and soon surpassed his teachers in his skills. The older he grew, the deeper and more bitter his hatred became. He was granted the position of leader of the Foot Clan in New York, and with this he could act out his vengeance against Yoshi. Within a year, the Foot Clan in New York became the most feared criminal organization. Now calling himself the Shredder, he was successful, but not satisfied. He still wanted his revenge. And one night, Yoshi returned home to find it destroyed. The body of Tang Shen laying in the damage to the home. And Saki lying in wait in the shadows. Saki announced who he was and why he was there. And within moments, both Hamato Yoshi and Tang Shen were dead. Most of this story stayed true in the 2011 reboot, but instead of it being a Rokunaki that was originally challenging Hamato Yoshi in the Foot, it was Saki himself. And he was jealous of Yoshi, as they were both being groomed to be the next leader of not just the New York branch of the Foot, but the Foot as a whole. During a mission, Saki used Yoshi's hot-headed nature to lure him into a dangerous encounter. Yoshi was injured during this battle, and he returned home to Tang Shen, who forbade Yoshi to die and told Yoshi that she was pregnant with the first of 4 sons. I think you can kind of see where that is leading. Meanwhile, Saki rose to become the leader of the Foot Clan. Yoshi would constantly argue with him, and one day the argument got so bad that Saki said he could not take it anymore. He could not take the dishonor by Yoshi anymore, and murdered Tang Shen. It was dishonorable to challenge the decision of the head of the Foot Clan, and Tang Shen, unfortunately, would pay the ultimate price for that. Yoshi followed Shen's wishes and took the 4 boys and fled, no longer being involved with the Foot Clan. Until the fateful day that Saki found where Yoshi was hiding and slayed him and his 4 sons. His leadership led the Foot Clan to become the strongest criminal enterprises in the original Mirage comic book. The Shredder makes this list because even after murdering Yoshi's family, the Foot and the Shredder continued on this dominant warpath that took 15 years for either Splinter as Splinter or Splinter as a reincarnated Saki Yoshi, which is what he is in the 2011 version of the book, and then obviously Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael are the reincarnations of his four sons in the reboot. And then obviously in the original, they're just four turtles that got doused in nasty liquid and blah, 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 turned into the heroes we all know and love. The heroes in a half shell. Turtle power. And this was true in both iterations. That the Shredder would continue to just rise and gain more and more power. In the original Mirage book, Yoshi actually used the turtles to kill the Shredder for what he did. Well, not Yoshi, but Splinter. Splinter used the turtles to kill Saki for what he did to Tang Shen and Hamato Yoshi. The same is kind of in the IDW book, but obviously the Shredder is a much more prominent character in the IDW book than in the Mirage, because after the first issue, you don't see the Shredder for like almost the entire series until near the end. So there's a lot, there's obviously a lot of differences there between what the Shredder, and obviously the original Mirage book was meant to be one story, and that's why they killed the Shredder at the end of it. But the Shredder became this character that was essential to the Turtles. He became their main villain, along with Krang and Baxter Stockman, who's been bastardized himself over the decades in Ninja Turtles, so don't even get me started with that. But that is the reason why the Shredder is on my list of Hollywood baddies, and he definitely does not get the credit he deserves, especially seeing just how evil this man actually is. But next up, we got somebody that obviously everybody that's a Hollywood villain fan knows, and that is Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Dr. Lecter makes the list because for years he worked side by side with the FBI as a criminal psychologist hunting killers while hiding his homicidal tendencies and cannibalism. After murdering and serving a member of the Baltimore Symphony to other members of the Symphony Board, he was visited by FBI agent Will Graham, and he discovered Lecter's dark secret. Lecter attempted to kill Graham to keep his secret hidden, but Graham fought back and was able to get away. While incarcerated, and put Lecter into custody. While incarcerated, Lecter began speaking with a serial killer through personal ads, while also attempting to help the FBI capture the same killer. During their correspondence, Lecter gave the killer the home address of Special Agent Graham, putting his family into danger. After the FBI caught the killer, Lecter would again help the FBI in capturing another killer after a ruse of trying to profile him. He offered the identity of this killer in exchange for better accommodations in prison. This too was a ruse, and Lecter escaped. He eventually resurfaced in Italy while trying to escape the clutches of not only the Italian authorities, but one of his surviving victims, who brought him back to Baltimore to exact his revenge. Lecter would then go on to kill the leader of Homeland Security, or the Justice Department, actually, not Homeland Security. I apologize about that. And escape law enforcement yet again. So Dr. Lecter makes my list of Hollywood baddies because not only was he able to escape them multiple times, but he also used his intelligence and the fact that he's a fucking doctor to escape authorities not once, not twice, but 3 times. And then on top of that, being a homicidal cannibal doesn't hurt either, right? But the last one is Darth Vader. And if the quote, "you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain," ever rang true, Darth Vader would be the perfect candidate for this statement. Born Anakin Skywalker, he was destined to become the savior of the Jedi, and instead allowed himself to be corrupted by power and broke multiple rules of the Jedi in his quest. Instead of bringing balance to the Force, he plunged it into darkness, murdering Jedi younglings and helping Sith Lord Sidious start a coup against the Jedi, causing most of them to perish or go into hiding. Vader would become one of the most formidable villains in the galaxy, and for decades led the Empire in a battle against the rebel forces who were trying to restore order to the galaxy and put an end to the Empire. Lord Vader would later learn of the treachery of the Emperor and helped his son Luke end the Empire. For decades, Lord Vader has been considered one of the baddest baddies in the history of Hollywood. Which, that alone, is enough to land him on my list of candidates. So like I said, we're now going to talk about some real life scumbags. So, I mean, obviously what the Shredder did was bad enough. And, Hannibal Lecter, I left out a lot of grisly details of things that Lecter has done. And Vader, I mean, voom, 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 voom. I mean, yeah, he killed people, but I mean, nothing like what these scumbags have done to people. The first one is known as the Butcher of Plainfield, Ed Gein. Grave robber, murderer, cannibal. Gein would rob graves to steal freshly buried women's bodies and bring them back to his house to make a women's suit out of them, and used the bones, skins, and other body parts to make furniture, utensils, and even cookware and plates and bowls out of them. Gein had a very unhealthy obsession with his mother and was devastated after she perished. Gein told a friend that after she died, he lost his only friend and the only person who ever loved him. He also murdered 2 women to help build his suit so that he can be, quote, inside of his mother. And Gein became the inspiration for Norman Bates, Leatherface, Buffalo Bill, and even parts of Hannibal Lecter are based on the crimes of Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. And, I mean, people were questioning whether or not Gein might have been a necrophiliac, and that was part of the grave robbing. Gein did admit that he thought about it, but that the bodies smelled too bad in order to be able to do the act of necrophilia. And I can't even believe I'm talking about it. It's making me ill. But Ed Gein was pretty much one of the very first classifications of what we would classify as a serial killer. After Gein, obviously, we had Bundy, Dahmer, all of these other just historically evil people. But a lot of people do think that Gein was one of the first, and that's what makes him such an inspiration for characters like Leatherface, like Buffalo Bill, like Norman Bates. I mean, you could probably even put some of, like, I'm trying to think, obviously the Firefly family from, House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects. You can include them in there. But just a lot of that. I mean, Dr. Satan, obviously, a lot of that inspiration for Dr. Satan came from a lot of different, real life serial killers. And Rob Zombie would be the first one to admit that. But Leatherface, Norman Bates, Buffalo Bill, all of that were highly, highly inspired by Ed Gein and the crimes that Gein committed. I'm sorry, I keep looking out the window because you guys can kind of see I keep wiping sweat. It's definitely a warmer day here in Ohio, but it was raining and I have a monitor right underneath the window, and I didn't want the rain to hit the monitor. So if it's done raining, I might go and reopen the window to get a little bit of air circulating in here. But I want to try to finish this first part before we go to break. Talking about these real life scumbags. And then we'll go to break. And then we'll come back and we'll see if we can break into the back computer. Next, Ariel Castro. If you're from my area, Northeast Ohio, this guy definitely would make a lot of people's lists for scumbag of the century. So for over 10 years, Castro had held 3 women captive in his home in Cleveland, Ohio, even bearing a child with one of them. Michelle Knight, who has since changed her name to Lily Rose, was his first victim. Lured to him with the promise of a new puppy for her son that she was trying to win back from child services. She never made the appointment. The appointment was for that day, and she figured what a nice surprise it would be to surprise my son with a new puppy while I'm welcoming him back home. And as soon as Castro had her in his house, knocked her out, chained her to a wall in the basement, put a motorcycle helmet over her head so that she couldn't see, and then beat and raped her for years. Michelle even became pregnant a few times. Castro would beat her into having a miscarriage on multiple occasions. His second victim came a couple of years later, Amanda Berry, kidnapped while leaving her job at Burger King. He again would beat and rape Amanda repeatedly, and even used Berry's phone to call her mother and tell her that he had Amanda and that she would be home in a few days. Amanda's mother would go to Oprah, Maury, all these different shows, begging for information about Amanda. And there were a few times when there would be these fake-ass psychics that were on these shows, and they would tell Amanda's mother Amanda was dead, and that she was buried in water, which led to countless police hours and resources on wild goose chases. Castro would also have a TV that he would constantly show candlelight vigils and things like that for the girls, and laugh and say, look at that, they're looking for you, they want you back, ha ha ha, but you're here with me, ha ha ha. His third and final victim would actually be a friend of his daughter's. A lot of people in law enforcement think that this might have been his main target, and that Amanda and Michelle were just lead up to capturing Georgina DeJesus, or Gina DeJesus. He even attended several candlelight vigils for Gina and Amanda because the two girls were kind of thought to be linked and that the same person had them because of how closely apart from each other they were kidnapped. Amanda would eventually become pregnant from Castro. He even attempted to force her to miscarry too. However, Amanda begged him to let her keep the child. She gave birth in an old kiddie pool in the room the girls shared, and Lily acting as her midwife. After her daughter was born, Castro made it look as if the girls were not captives, but that they were all a family, removing chains and bounds, but locking doors and keeping them in upstairs rooms. He would trick the girls, leaving portions of the home unlocked, and then if they tried to escape, he would capture them and beat and rape them again. On May 6, 2013, Castro left to meet a friend, and Amanda's daughter told her that Daddy was gone. Amanda checked and noticed that he had left the home unlocked except for a storm door on the front of the house. Screaming for help, Amanda managed to get the attention of some of Castro's neighbors, who helped her and her daughter escape. And as soon as police arrived, they discovered Lily and Gina upstairs in a bedroom. And for the first time in 11 years, all 3 women were safe. Castro was arrested down the street at a McDonald's and taken into custody. Castro eventually pled guilty to 933 out of 977 charges and was sentenced to consecutive life sentences plus 1,000 years. He was charged with multiple counts of kidnapping, rape, abuse, attempted murder, and even murder of an unborn child. Castro took the coward's way out and committed suicide in prison while awaiting transportation to his final location. So we have one final real-life scumbag here on my list. And this is someone who had probably done one of the most despicable, deplorable, and unthinkable things that I have ever witnessed. Well, not physically witnessed, but heard about. And this man had everything that any normal American man could possibly ever want. A beautiful wife, 2 adorable daughters, and then a 3rd child on the way. And from what I could see in the few documentaries that I did see about this particular scumbag, they had a fairly comfortable lifestyle. They had a nice big house. They were fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they had closets filled with Steelers jerseys. I'm envious because I don't know what happened to all of those jerseys. And I probably could have used a few of them. What, as you kind of noticed when we talked about Ariel Castro, Amanda Berry, Lily Rose, and Gina De Jesus, I did not mention Amanda Berry's daughter's name. As a journalist, that is one thing that I always try to stay away from doing. I don't like mentioning the names of children, especially children that are no longer here. And in the situation like Amanda's, that daughter's traumatized enough as it is, now that she knows the truth about the man that she used to call Dad. The same respect will be given to the 2 girls in this story. We're going to set a scene for you. Shanann, a woman, returns from a business trip, and one in which her parents were watching her 2 daughters. She returns home from the business trip, and she had discovered that her husband had gone out to dinner one night and spent what would probably be considered double the amount for dinner for one person. There had been some trouble in paradise, and Shanann was contemplating divorce. She had never really brought it up to her husband because she wanted to try to work things out. She loved her husband. Her husband gave her 2 absolutely adorable and just... I'm not the world's biggest fan of kids, but those kids were just the cutest little adorable things that I'd ever seen. They were funny, they were smart, and enough about that, because it's going to make me get emotional, and I don't want to change the emotion that I have right now. And obviously, a 3rd child on the way. But after this discovery of funds being misused and misincorporated, She kind of figured that was the last straw. Plus some things that happened while she was out of town that made her question certain things. And she kind of said, I've had enough. When she returns home from this trip, she confronts her husband, Chris, and says, maybe we should get a divorce. Maybe it's time we do this. You're clearly not happy. Things are happening. And that's the last that anyone ever saw of Shanann and her 2 daughters and her unborn child alive. The next day, one of Shanann's friends is blowing up Shanann's phone, trying to get a hold of her, can't get a hold of her. His friend calls the police. I can't get a hold of my friend. She was supposed to have a doctor's appointment. She would never miss her doctor's appointments. And she also had a doctor's appointment for her daughters. They would never miss an appointment. Something's wrong. Police decided to do a welfare check, but Chris wasn't home. They finally get a hold of Chris. Chris shows up at the house and allows the police to do a welfare check on Shanann and the 2 girls. The 2 girls and Shanann are nowhere to be found. Shanann's car is in the garage. Her purse, cell phone, medication, the girls' objects and things are still in the house. So either something is horribly wrong, or she left in such a hurry that she didn't take her car, she didn't take her purse, she didn't take her phone, and all of the girls' belongings are still in the house. The police also noticed that one of the sheets was missing off of Shanann and Chris's bed. There were also things missing from the girls' room when it came to bedding. The police go next door with Chris, knock on the next door neighbor's door. Hey, you have security cameras. Can we watch them? The police are looking at the security photos and they see Chris loading his truck up with a gas can, the 2 girls, and then he loads something that is out of frame of the camera into the back of the truck and drive off fairly early in the morning, not too long after Shanann returned from her business trip. The craziest part about this is if you watch this footage, Chris's mannerisms, the look on his face, and all these other things don't match a man concerned about the well-being and the whereabouts of his wife and 2 daughters, but more like, what did the camera see? How much trouble am I about to be in? And the neighbor picked up on this too, and even mentioned it to the police, that he's not acting right. And as it turns out, he wasn't. The next day, after going to look at this security footage at the neighbor's house, the FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined the search for Shanann and the 2 girls. Chris was taken in for a polygraph, which he failed miserably. After failing the test, he confessed to his father, of all people, that he killed Shanann after finding one of his daughter's bodies. And Shanann strangling the other daughter. And that he killed Shanann in defense of his daughter so that his other daughter didn't die. He buried them in a crude oil field where he worked. Shanann buried in the field. His two daughters submerged in two separate oil tubes. It was discovered that Shanann was strangled to death using Chris's bare hands, killing her and their unborn child. His daughters smothered to death with their own pillows. He even recounted later on that one of his daughters, I can't remember which one, watched him kill the other, crying, pleading for her father to not do this, asked if what happened to her sister was going to happen to her too. Mr. Father of the Year said yes, and then killed his other daughter. It turns out that Shanann's fears were proven to be true as well. The police discovered that Chris had a mistress who he told his wife was missing to before his wife was missing. A mistress who he told had been separated from his wife for a long time before she disappeared. And a mistress who on the day he killed his wife and children told he would marry. Now, obviously, the investigators believed that said mistress was motivation for the crime. Because then at least this way he doesn't have to give his ex-wife half, right? There was also rumors circulating that the mistress may have had something to do with Shanann and the girls' murders, but there's been no proof of any of that, and the investigation found no evidence leading to that. Christopher Watts makes this list because familicide is extremely personal. There has to be a certain level of hatred for the people that you supposedly have loving, undying devotion to be able to kill each and every single one of them, one by one. Most people that perpetrate familicide also end up committing suicide in the end because of the guilt that they feel for what they just did. Chris Watts did not. What did Chris in is the fact that anytime he would do a TV interview or anything like that, he showed zero emotion for the missing wife and children. Even news people were asking the police, are you looking at Chris as a suspect because of the way he's acting in these interviews? Obviously, the police couldn't answer that question with an open investigation anyway. But eventually they did pull Watson, and it was discovered that he was the kind of person, or he was the person responsible. But getting back to the suicide thing, I mean, just look at Chris Benoit, right? Chris Benoit murders his wife on Friday, murders his son on Saturday, wakes up Sunday morning, realizes, oh yeah, I just killed everybody that I live with, and then kills himself. To me, next to pedophiles, family annihilators are the lowest of low and deserve zero remorse or respect. And that is why I saved Chris Watts for last on that list of real-life scumbags. I hate Ariel Castro for what he did to those 3 women. I didn't even know Ed Gein existed until I started looking into the motivation behind some of those characters that I mentioned that he motivated. But Chris Watts just happened a couple of years ago. And I live in Cleveland. If I don't know about Amanda Berry, I got problems. But that's going to do it for the first hour. We actually went over the first hour of Money's Crazy Mind. We're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to see if this information that the guy at Wayne Tech gave me is true. We're going to try to break into the Batcave computer. See if we can pull up a dossier on the Joker. This is Money's Crazy Mind. We'll be right back.
Let's take a trip in the 3 sick individuals' motherfucking heads.
Welcome to my world where little girls and girls have their guns and knives. Funny internet for the perverse and rapists in it every day. Fuck with this, cause you'll get big smacked like 2 planes in the World Trade Center. Standing outside, get your ass down like Calabar. Smoking Bin Laden with high for the Taliban suicide bombers. 81 what? 81 motherfucking 100 what? Psycho America, Psycho America, Psycho America what? Smoke, crack, and worship Satan. Smoke, crack, and worship Satan. Smoke, crack, and worship Satan.
I'm just another freak show, doggy pussy Britney Spears. Sticking my finger in Pink's brown eye. Just cornhole that dirty bitch Christina Aguilera. What? Guess what? I mushroom stamp that fucking cunt. I mushroom stamp that fucking cunt. 81 what? 81 what? 81 motherfucking 100 what? Psycho America, Psycho America, Psycho America what? Smoke, crack, and worship Satan. Smoke, crack, and worship Satan. Smoke, crack, and worship Satan. I'm psychotic, I got it, like that. You fuck a beat, hang your kid up on your back when I attack. Ha!
fuck your system and burn the White House too.
Okay. Well, I think that's the perfect song for the break, considering the topic that we're talking about this week, the rise of villainy. I want to thank Psych Ward, as always, for all of the music that they provide to Money's Crazy Mind, Nameless Faceless Productions. I didn't mean for the song to cut off. I forgot that I took the music out of this scene. Fuck my life. Oh well. Anyway, that was Bitch Die by Psych Ward. Again, huge shout out to Psych Ward for helping us with our music each and every single week here on the show. We are diving in to our number 2 of Money's Crazy Mind. We actually went a little bit over that first hour, but that's okay, because I wanted to get my thoughts out about Chris Watts, and listening to Psycho America kind of put me into a better mood. And, you know, we're going to need a good mood here. I need my keyboard, though. I moved my keyboard because, well, you know, I mean, didn't need it for the first half of the show, but we're definitely going to need the keyboard now, because we're about to attempt something here. I was able to pay an intern at Wing Tech a lot of money because he claimed that he was able to hack into Batman's computers and get into his personal files about all of the criminals and stuff that he has captured. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to see if this information is legit and attempt to break into Batman's computers and see if we can pull up a criminal dossier file on one of Batman's most notorious arch enemies, the Joker. Now, let's see if we can hack into Batman's computer. All right, here we go. All right, so we are in Batman's computer, and you saw there that I was able to pull up the files on the Joker. So let's see just what Batman has here about the Joker. I printed out everything that I was able to print out. I have a super quick printer. There's quite some material here on the Joker. But this looks like it might be like a criminal history on the Joker here on these first few pages. Okay, so let's see what we have here on these files that I was able to pull off of Batman's computer. The Joker is a psychopathic criminal mastermind, anarchist, and nihilist. He is known for his psychological manipulation, strategical planning, and the ability to adapt to any situation. He has a psychopathic personality who lacks empathy and has committed mass murder. That's important. And the Joker also meets the DSM-5 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. He is an ENTP personality type. The Joker has certain personality traits that align with this classification. His behaviors are listed as a self-professed agent of chaos. The Joker rose to power in Gotham City by creating turmoil. Psychological manipulation, and he is highly proficient. The The Joker is able to adapt himself into any situation and turn it to his advantage using strategic planning. He wears colorful custom clothing. He's known for his colorful suits, mainly purple, and custom made, so they are hard to trace. He covers his face in smeared clown makeup and has the classic Glasgow smile associated with a clown persona. On the next few pages here are some crimes committed by the Joker. Mass murder, including children. 856 or more counts of homicide. Attempted murder. Terrorism. High treason. Impersonation. Theft. Rape. Abuse. Torture. Animal cruelty. Enslavement. Smuggling. Snuff filming. Kidnapping. Vandalism, pollution, brainwashing, weapons dealing, cannibalism, mass arson, worldwide conspiracy, blackmail, stalking, breaking and entering, jailbreak, incrimination, criminal dealing, forgery, fraud, sabotage, and attempted world domination. The Joker's psychopathology is unclear, but some say he meets the DSM-5 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Some of the other crimes the Joker has committed: assault, burglary, trespassing, evidence tampering, and evading arrest. The Joker's psychological profile is often characterized by a complex mix of traits, including narcissism, psychopathy, and a strong desire for chaos, often stemming from a history of trauma and deep-seated sense of victimization, leading him to manipulate and inflict pain on others to feel a sense of power and control. With a lack of empathy and tendency to see the world as a cruel joke. Depending on the portrayal, he might also exhibit signs of borderline personality disorder or other severe mental illnesses. With his key aspects to his psychology: narcissistic tendencies, a strong need for attention and admiration, often seeking to manipulate others to achieve this goal, and a grandiose sense of self-importance. With psychopathic traits, lack of empathy, remorse, and conscience, he takes pleasure in causing suffering to others, and a manipulative nature. With his anarchistic ideology, his desire to disrupt societal norms and finding pleasure in destabilizing it. He often depicted with a history of severe abuse or neglect, which fuels his rage and desire for revenge, leading to his violent actions, is a clear sign of trauma-based motivation. Using dark humor and laughter as a coping mechanism and a way to manipulate and control others gives the Joker a distorted sense of humor and a charismatic facade with a charming and persuasive personality that allows him to easily manipulate others, often hiding the underlying destructive nature. And some of his potential diagnoses, depending on interpretation, would be the narcissistic personality disorder, which is due to his strong need for admiration, manipulation, and a lack of empathy. Antisocial personality disorder, characterized by a disregard for social norms, lack of remorse, and impulsive behavior. And a borderline personality disorder may be present due to unstable emotions, intense relationships, and impulsive behavior. Some important things to consider are variations across adaptations. That the betrayal of the Joker varies significantly depending on the scenario of what is happening, impacting specific nuances of his psychological profile. And there cannot be a single diagnosis. The complexity of the Joker's character makes it difficult to definitively diagnose him with a single mental illness. May lead to the thought of there being multiple people who have betrayed the character of the Joker, over many decades. And these look like personal notes by Batman. The Joker possesses no superhuman abilities. Instead, using his expertise in chemical engineering to develop poisonous or lethal concoctions and thematic weaponry, including razor-tipped playing cards, deadly joy buzzers, and acid-spraying lapel flowers. The Joker sometimes works with other Gotham City supervillains, such as the Penguin or Two-Face. Groups like the Injustice Gang and Injustice League, but these partnerships often collapse due to the Joker's desire for unbridled chaos. A romantic interest and sidekick for the Joker, his former psychiatrist Harley Quinn, was a brief interest to the Joker, although now has been replaced by Punchline. Although his primary obsession is me, the Joker has also fought other heroes, including Superman and Wonder Woman. There have been multiple revisions of the Joker since my first meeting with him. The most common interpretation is of a man who, while disguised as the criminal Red Hood, is pursued and falls into a vat of chemicals that bleach his skin, color his green hair, and his red lips. And this drives him to become insane. The reason why the Joker was disguised as the Red Hood and his identity before his transformation has been questioned over time. My first experience with the Joker was when he first announced that he wanted to kill 3 of Gotham's prominent citizens. Although the police protect the first announced victim, millionaire Henry Claridge, the Joker had poisoned him before making his announcement, and Claridge dies with a ghastly grin on his face. I was eventually able to defeat him, sending him to prison. The Joker often commits crimes ranging from whimsical to brutal, for reasons that make sense to him alone. This led me to believe that he was the former Red Hood, a mass criminal who during his final heist vanished after leaping into a vat of chemicals to escape. His resulting disfiguration drove him insane and led him to adopt the name the Joker. From the playing card figure he came to resemble. Another transformation into a figure of fun was established in a crime called the Joker's Millions. The Joker is obsessed with maintaining his illusion of wealth and celebrity as a criminal. Afraid to let Gotham citizens know that he is penniless and was tricked out of his fortune, leading him to become a homicidal sociopath. The Joker's 5-way revenge had him taking violent revenge on the former gang members who betrayed him, while the laughing fish portray him chemically disfiguring fish so they will share his trademark grin, hoping to profit from a copyright and killing any bureaucrat who stood in his way. I later on decided that the Red Hood persona of the Joker could be his true origin, but not as a criminal. I heard a story about a woman whose husband was a failed comedian who participated in a robbery as the Red Hood to support her when she was pregnant. I arrived to stop the robbery, provoking the terrified comedian into jumping into a vat of chemicals, which dyed his skin chalk white, his hair green, and his lips bright red. His disfigurement, combined with the trauma of his wife's earlier accidental death, drives him insane and results in the birth of the Joker. The Joker said that this story may not be true. He admitted that he does not remember exactly what drove him insane, and says that he prefers his past to be multiple choice. The Joker would go on to shoot and paralyze Barbara Gordon, formerly known as Batgirl, and then tortures her father, Police Commissioner James Gordon, to prove that it only takes one bad day to drive a normal man insane. I was able to rescue Gordon and subdue the Joker. He offers to rehabilitate his old foe and end the rivalry. Although the Joker refuses, he shows his appreciation by sharing a joke with me. Following the character's maiming of Barbara Gordon, she became a more important character to me. The Oracle, a data gatherer and superhero informant who has her revenge when becoming a member of the Birds of Prey and shattering the Joker's teeth, destroying his smile. I didn't realize Batman kept such detailed notes. But I guess it makes sense. The Joker would go on to beat the second person to don the mantle of Robin, Jason Todd, with a crowbar, and leaves him to die in an explosion. Todd's death haunted me, and for the first time, I seriously considered killing the Joker. He was able to escape justice when Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini appoints him the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations, giving him diplomatic immunity. However, when he tries to poison the UN membership, I defeated him with help from Clark Kent, Superman. In 1999, the Joker murdered Commissioner Gordon's second wife, Sarah, as she shields a group of infants. He taunted Gordon, who shoots him in the kneecap. The Joker, lamenting that he may never walk again, collapses with laughter when he realizes that the Commissioner has avenged Barbara's paralysis. The Joker found himself to be an emperor in which the Joker steals Mxyzptlk's reality-altering power and remakes the universe in his image, torturing and killing variations of myself daily before resurrecting me. When the supervillain then tries to destroy the universe, his reluctance to eliminate me makes him lose control, and Superman is able to defeat him. Broken by his experience, my experiences with death are transferred to Superman by the Spectre so that he can heal mentally. The next year, Doctors at Arkham Asylum convince the Joker that he is dying in an attempt to rehabilitate him. Instead, Joker, flanked by an army of Jokerized supervillains, launches a final crime spree, believing that the third Robin, Tim Drake, had been killed in the chaos. Dick Grayson, the first Robin, beats the Joker to death, although Batman revives his foe to keep Grayson from becoming a murderer. I don't think these are Batman's files. I think some of these are Batman's notes, and then maybe some of these might be other, like, they're combined with Bruce's notes and then police files. I think maybe he's, like, altering this to make it include, like, the people involved, because, I mean, the police wouldn't know that Tim Drake and Dick Grayson were ever Robin. To keep Grayson from becoming a murderer. The villain succeeded in making a member of the Bat family break their rule against killing. A resurrected Jason Todd tried to force me to avenge his death by killing the Joker. When I refused, we argued that if he allowed himself to kill the Joker, he would not be able to stop himself from killing other criminals. The Joker kills Alexander Luthor for excluding him from the secret society of supervillains, which considers him to be too unpredictable for membership. A deranged police officer who impersonates Batman shoots the Joker in the face, scarring and disabling him. The supervillain returned as an enigmatic force who awakens and tries to kill Harley Quinn to prove that Batman has become more than human. The Joker is recruited by Black Glove to destroy Batman, but betrays the group, killing its members one by one. After Batman's apparent death, Dick Grayson investigates a series of murders which lead him to a disguised Joker. The Joker is arrested, and then Robin, Damian Wayne, beats him with a crowbar, paralleling what the Joker did to Jason Todd. The Joker manages to escape and then attacks Black Glove, burying its leader, Simon Hurt, alive after the supervillain considers him a failure as an opponent. The Joker is then defeated by me. The Joker later then cuts his own face off with help of the toy maker, disappears for a year, and then returns to launch an attack on the Bat family so that he and I can be the best hero and villain they can. At the end, the Joker falls off a cliff into the dark abyss. He then returned in 2014, in which he brainwashes the Justice League into attacking me, believing that he has betrayed their relationship. It is implied that the Joker is an immortal having existed for centuries in Gotham as a cause of tragedy after exposure to a substance the Joker terms Dionysium, and is able to regenerate from mortal injuries. The Joker restored his face and reveals that he knows Batman's identity. This encounter ends with the apparent deaths of Batman and the Joker at each other's hand, though it is revealed that they were both resurrected in the life-restoring Lazarus pit without their memories. Maybe some of these are Alfred's notes. During our final encounter with Darkseid, I used the Metron's Mobius chair to find out who the Joker real is. The chair's answer left me in disbelief. I told the Green Lantern that the chair told me that there were 3 individual Jokers, not just one. And that the 3 Jokers who work in tandem include the criminal, a methodical mastermind, the clown, a goofy prankster, and the comedian, a sadistic psychopath. The comedian orchestrates the deaths of 2 other Jokers and reveals himself as the original. It's then when I told Gordon that I knew the Joker's true identity. A lot of this is just gibberish here. This is also when I informed Gordon that the Joker's wife did not die. Rather, I helped her escape to Alaska with the help of the Gotham police. And I feared because she feared her husband would have been an abusive father. The police then told the Joker a story about her dying to protect her. I have kept his identity a secret in order to protect the criminal's wife and son. It doesn't look like they ever really reveal the Joker's name here. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else here. Looks like some of these might be Harleen Quinzel's notes before she went psycho and became Harley Quinn. The Joker is neither sexual or asexual. The Joker is seductive towards Batman. It is uncertain if their relationship has homoerotic undertones or if the Joker is simply trying to manipulate his nemesis. He is fixated on death and uninterested in sexual relationships, while capable of a romantic relationship. Any relationship with him would be abusively paradoxical. Although the Joker keeps his relationships at his side, he heedlessly harms them. The person would love the Joker, but the Joker does not reciprocate the feelings, chiding them for distracting him from other plans. It could be described as the Joker is in love with Batman, although not in a traditional romantic way. The Joker believes that Batman has not killed him because he makes Batman better, and he loves the villain for that. The Joker's main goal is to make Batman the best he can be. The Joker and Batman represent opposites. The extroverted Joker wears colorful clothing and embraces chaos, while the introverted, monochromatic Batman represents order and discipline. The Joker Joker often depicted as defining his existence going through his conflicts with Batman. Villain tries to lead a normal life at times, only to become his old self again when the Batman appears. These may not be Quinzel's notes, but maybe somebody else. Given the multiple opportunities to kill his nemesis, Batman, the Joker demurs. He believes that without their game, winning is pointless. He has no desire for typical criminal goals like money or power. His criminality is designed only to continue his game with Batman. He has no fear. When the Scarecrow doused him with fear toxin, the Joker merely laughed and said, "Boo." He's been temporarily rendered sane by several means, including telepathic manipulation by the Martian Manhunter and being resurrected in a Lazarus pit. At these moments, the Joker is as expressing remorse for his crimes. However, during a medically induced period of partial sanity, he tells Batman, "I don't hate you because I'm crazy. I'm crazy because I hate you," and confirms that he will only stop killing when Batman is dead. He's immune to venom and most poisons. He has been an avid consumer of his own chemical experiments. The Joker's immunity to poison concoctions that might kill another man in an instant has been developed over years of dedicated abuse. Despite his tendency to kill subordinates on a whim, the Joker has no difficulty attracting henchmen with a seemingly infinite cash supply and intimidation. They are too afraid of their employer to refuse his demands, and that they wear red clown noses or laugh at his macabre jokes. Even with his unpredictability and lack of superhuman powers, we've seen hundreds of villains fall under his spell because they are more afraid of him than Lex Luthor. One of his first henchmen, Gaggy Gagsworth, who was short and dressed like a clown, later turned on him and became an enemy of his replacement, Harley Quinn. Quinn, a former Arkham psychiatrist who develops an obsessive infatuation with the Joker and dons a red and black Harlequin costume to join as his sidekick and on and off again girlfriend. They have an abusive relationship even though the Joker constantly insults, hurts, and even tries to kill her. She always returns to him, convinced that he loves her. He's also seen at times keeping laughing hyenas as pets. Okay. That appears to be all that's here. Except there's some handwritten notes on a paper here. when I learned of the three Jokers' existence, when I asked the cosmic artifact, the Mobius chair, of Joker's true identity, I began investigating this and found out that the three Jokers were using chemicals to create more Jokers who could potentially infiltrate and inflict serious pain on the Bat family. Jason Todd, the new Red Hood, falsely believed himself to be the target to be the next Joker after a confrontation at an aquarium and shot one of them dead in cold blood. The actual target was Joe Chill, the man who killed my parents. The original Joker and myself confronted one another before I saved Chill, and the Joker known as the Comedian shot the original Joker dead. The Comedian was arrested as the only Joker, delighted at now being the only Joker in Gotham City. The criminal, who I believe to be the original Joker, is a grim mastermind of unknown origins, and surprisingly, he is the only one being serious of the three, claiming that smiling and laughing physically hurt him. This Joker is obsessed with hurting me and creating more incarnations of the Joker alias to break him, including the targeting Joe Chill. He's also implied to be the Joker active in stealing seemingly useless items to blackmail people through references of their traumatic pasts. He was murdered by the third known Joker, the Comedian. The clown version of the Joker was a second and far more goofy, fun-loving, campy, colorful, showman-like prankster and theatrical, and was accompanied by a dwarfed henchman called Gaggy. He's implied to be the Joker who created the laughing fish and murdered Jason Todd. He was then murdered by Jason Todd later in life. The Comedian is mentally ill. A failed stand-up comedian named Jack, who used to work at Ace Chemicals and believed that he was widowed by his wife Janine, who actually escaped with their unborn child to Alaska. Jack was pressured by mobsters into becoming the Red Hood and robbed Ace Chemicals, where he ran into me and fell into a vat of chemicals, turning him into the most sadistic version of the Joker. As the Joker, he shot Barbara Gordon in the spine to kidnap and psychologically torture her father at Amusement Mile. It is also believed that the Joker raped Barbara Gordon after she was crippled. Whoa. Okay. But again, that seems to be all of the notes that Batman has here in his dossier of the Joker, which obviously is going to continue to grow the longer the Joker is allowed to be set free, which obviously he does by himself. But I think that's a great place to end the show here. That actually did almost take up the entire second hour of the show, so I'm glad that I did it the way that I did it. I'm going to get together with the team here at Nameless Faceless Productions now that the show is done, and we're going to discuss whether or not we want to stay on Facebook next week. Shit. or if this was going to be our final episode on Facebook. If that is the case, then obviously we will put out a statement and let everybody know that next week you'll be able to find Money's Crazy Mind on Rumble and YouTube. But until next week, everybody, take care of yourselves and each other.
Money's Crazy Mind is proud to be the exclusive flagship broadcast of Nameless, Faceless Productions.
That's all, folks.